Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to another episode. This is going to be a vinyl haul episode. I do these every occasion, every several months. I will put together what I've recently picked up in physical format, and it's always a fun way to just catalog my collection and update you on what I've received recently and maybe give you guys some ideas and some suggestions for albums you may want to listen to. So I don't know if there's quite as many as I usually do. Usually I try to stack these up, so there's quite a bit to go through. But I still have a pretty substantial stack, so it'll be fun. This is basically all of the vinyl and CD that I've purchased over the past about 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months. I think the last vinyl haul ended in August last year, so basically September through now is basically what I'm covering here. I'm trying to scale back, and I always say this, trying not to buy as much just to save money because prices are increasing and all of that stuff, but I always end up with a pretty hefty amount because I can't help myself. I'm a collector at my core, so it's always fun to go through this. So it was a little bit difficult because I was trying to figure out what I covered in the previous video. I didn't have it written down anywhere, but I don't believe I showed off this yet. So first off, I'm going to show off this Dream Theater box set that I got on vinyl. And this was really cool to be able to get these albums on vinyl, which have been eluding me. I hadn't been able to find some of these early Dream Theater records at a decent price on vinyl, so I sprung for the box set, even though I already have one of the albums in here on vinyl, but it gives me another version to enjoy and a couple albums that were hard for me to find. So in the box set itself, we've got Images and Words, of course, their classic early record. This kind of broke them into the scene, really, and is considered by many to be like a progressive metal staple, one of the most influential records of the genre. This is Awake, the next album after Images and Words. A lot to live up to, but it lives up to it in every way. Kind of has its own maybe darker sort of feel to it, but it's still a lot of fun and has many of their progressive metal highlights. And then it comes, of course, with Falling into Infinity as well, which isn't as well regarded as those two, I'd say. But I think it's a fantastic album. It has a little bit of a poppier touch to it. I know the band didn't quite make the record that they were hoping to, and there was a lot of drama behind the scenes with the record label and all that kind of stuff. But I think it produced a pretty decent album that I really enjoy in the collection and definitely had to have on vinyl here. And then this is the classic. I already had it on vinyl, but it's cool to have this style. It's a little bit of a different version, so this will work just great. Metropolis Part 2 Scenes from Memory, one of my all-time favorite albums. What really got me into the progressive metal genre, all told. So I really am grateful for this album. Concept record, fantastic. A must-listen for any fans of modern progressive rock, and I absolutely adore it. So beautiful record. Great to have all these. Even if the box set was a little bit pricey, but happy to be able to add them to the collection. All right, next I have Mirrors, Wheels Within Wheels. This ended up being my album of the year for 2024. Of course, I love it. Kind of a poppier prog group with some orchestration and beautiful female-male vocals. A fantastic Norwegian group that definitely needs to be heard by everybody. It's fantastic and can't recommend it enough. I think this is a great album. Definitely had to have that in the collection. Next I have Pure Reason Revolution, Coming Up to Consciousness. I don't believe I've shown this one yet. Fantastic band, fantastic record. A little bit of a shorter record, shorter songs compared to some of their more expansive stuff they've done on previous records, but I just love it. Great harmonies, male-female vocals once again that just are so beautiful together. Some kind of space rockiness, some like Steven Wilson-esque moments, some darker moments, but also just some real beauty in the songwriting. I just really adore this group, and I think that they deserve all the acclaim for all that they do in the modern prog scene. Next, another modern album that I absolutely love, Frost's Life in the Wires, one of my favorite records of the year as well, one of my favorite neo-prog bands. Love everything they do, this kind of cool, icy production values. This is a double record, concept album, kind of the culmination of everything Frost has done up to this point. Has a bit of influence from all of their previous records, in my opinion. And Jim Godfrey sounds great on these. They really go back to kind of the cool technical playing that they've done in the past. Some really cool wizardry on their instrumentation. So definitely well worth your attention and checking out if you haven't heard this yet this year. One of the premium prog albums of 2024, certainly. Another great album that I picked up from this year is Beardfish and their return with Songs for Beating Hearts. I love the cover, love everything about this record. It's a great return to form from the band. Is it their best album of all time? I don't really think so, but I think it's a solid one that showcases that they still have it. They still have all the quirk and talent that they are known for. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. I'm hoping that they continue this trajectory and are one of the premier prog bands that continue forward with new music. So wonderful start with this one, and can't wait to see what comes up the pike next. Fantastic record. And then, of course, I have to have my Neil Morse, No Hill for a Climber, signed by the artist himself. This was a surprise. It was a really fantastic record from this year that I fell for. Maybe not, I shouldn't say a surprise, because, of course, I love everything that Neil Morse puts out. He's my favorite artist. But that this album was so strong with a new group of collaborators, the Resonance, who are a group he hasn't played with before, kind of local Nashville musicians that he's worked with. And they have a great chemistry on the record. Those new members add a lot of cool little spice to it. But it's really Neil Morse, as you've come to expect him, just, some epics that are just in line with the epics that he's crafted throughout his career, and some interesting, quirky, shorter songs with just enough new elements to keep it fresh and interesting. So really love this record. Another one of my favorites of the year. Well worth checking out for any prog fan. Beautiful packaging and everything as usual from the man himself. Next, I picked up this one. This is Storm Corrosion. This is kind of the collaborative album between Michael Ackerfeld and Steven Wilson. Kind of more haunting, more atmospheric, more ambient sounds. But it produced a really interesting, folky, kind of cool little album that is one of the more interesting little curios in both of these artists' collections. So I had to pick it up myself because it was reissued on vinyl this year. So that was one that I added. And speaking of Michael Ackerfeld, I also have the new Opeth album, The Last Will and Testament, which I absolutely love. I think this is a cool return to kind of some of that death metal stuff that they did back in their heyday, but doesn't sacrifice the kind of modern proggy edge that they've added in recent years. So it's kind of a cool culmination of all the eras of Opeth that have come out up to this point. So really proggy, a cool concept. They have Ian Anderson guesting on the record. It ended up being one of my favorites of the year. It was highly anticipated, and it lived up to the hype. So what more can you ask for from one of the premier prog metal, death metal bands out there? And then I had to, of course, back to the Neil Morse train. I have Question Mark now on vinyl. Cool that he's reissuing these, not reissuing, but putting these out on vinyl for the first time. His classic solo records. I have one now that came out earlier as well, and now this one, Question Mark. I'm hoping Sola Scriptura is next, because that would be the next in the sequence. Fantastic record, some of my favorite records of all time as a Neil Morse superfan. There's no way I wasn't going to pick this up when it was announced, so really excited to have this one on vinyl finally. Of course, I've had it on CD for many, many years, but definitely cool to have a vinyl version. And then another one of my favorite groups, Moon Safari, came out with Himmelbacken Volume 1 on vinyl. They put Himmelbacken Volume 2 on vinyl. I believe it was their first vinyl release. So now they're kind of going backwards into their back catalog and releasing their other albums on vinyl. And great to have Himmelbacken Volume 1. An incredible album by the band. Of course, has their sumptuous harmonies that they're known for, kind of their sugary, positive, uplifting symphonic sound. And I can't get enough of it. I think they're one of the premier prog bands that exists, and can't wait to continue to follow them. Hopefully they have new music coming around the corner. Excited to see them on the upcoming Cruise to the Edge as well. And then we're getting into some of the Christmas gifts that I received here. This is Stephen Wilson's The Raven That Refused to Sing. Crazy that I didn't have it in my collection yet, because this is one of my all-time favorite albums. I just hadn't been able to pick it up on vinyl quite yet at this point, so it's been on my wish list for many, many years, so to speak. But glad to finally have it. One of my favorite records. Stephen Wilson never misses. And I love this record. It's him like kind of celebrating classic prog in a way. And I think most people consider it kind of a modern day masterpiece in terms of the prog world, right? So fantastic record. Excited to have it in my collection. And yeah, there you go. I got it as a Christmas gift from my in-laws, so that was kind of a cool thing that they picked out for me. This one I got from my dad. Of course, he's always skewing towards the older classics, and so he got me Queen 1, which was reissued on vinyl this year as well. So glad to have this to add to my Queen collection. I like those early Queen records, which to me have a lot of prog in them as well. Queen 2, Sheer Heart Attack, Night at the Opera, Day at the Races. That's kind of my prime Queen period. I love all those records, and great to have that in the collection as well. And then ones that I picked up with some like extra Christmas money, so to speak. This is the Von Hertzen brothers and their new album In Murmuration. I wasn't sure I was going to get this because I didn't quite enjoy this record as much as their previous, which was one of my favorite records of that year, Red Alert and the Blue Forest. But the more I listen to this, the more I really love it. And it's a different kind of thing. It's more shorter, punchier rock songs, not quite as proggy, but it's still a fun record, and I love it to death, and I keep listening to it. So I thought it was worthy of adding to the collection, certainly. And so it's a fun record. I recommend it to anyone who's a fan of this kind of, cool, clever rock music with some great vocal harmonies. A lot of fun to be had on that record. And then I also picked up the new, not new, but Kaipa's record, Notes from the Past. This is actually the first Kaipa record in their current iteration. Of course, they had a run like in the 70s, but in their reunited phase in the 2000s, this is kind of where it started. It has Ryan Stolt on it as well. And just something that I've seen, once again, in my like kind of wish list that I just haven't picked up yet as to now, but decided to pull the trigger. Just a fantastic symphonic prog album if you like just your classic cool symphonic prog. If you like a lot of what the Flower Kings do, this is definitely something worth picking up, and to me the start of a great trajectory for the band. And then I just recently got this weekend. This is super exciting. One of my favorite albums of 2024 that I haven't had on physical media yet here. Dirt Poor Robin's Firebird. So excited to be able to crack this open and to be able to listen to it. A great record. I hope people will go out and check it out. I think they're a fantastic band. Maybe once again, not capital P prog, but they definitely have prog leanings. They will blur genres. They have kind of a throwbacky style sometimes. They do concept records and fabulous male-female vocals. This album has a tinge of kind of an 80s synth feel. But definitely has a lot of different hands and different genres as well. So it's a fun record, and it has a few tracks from Queen of the Night, which was their previous record. So kind of gives me some bonus tracks that haven't been on vinyl before. So really excited to delve in to this version of it, and really happy. It was part of like a Kickstarter campaign, and I've been waiting for it for months since I pledged my contribution to that. So really excited that finally came in, because it kind of closes the chapter to me of the 2024 releases that I was really excited for. Now I'm going to talk about some CDs that I've picked up as well. I've been incorporating CDs more along with vinyl, just because of the cost of vinyl, and some albums work better on CDs, and some albums are only on CD and not released on vinyl. So first of all, I do have John Anderson and the Band Geeks True. I will admit a big part of the reason I did the CD rather than the vinyl is just because the cover art has never appealed to me. I think a lot of people are not big fans of it, and so I figured I'd get the cheaper option because I don't really need this cover in the big vinyl format. But I really wanted to have this record in my collection in some form, so here it is on CD. Really an excellent record for the year. I wanted to show off my Big Train set here. This is their live album that they released this past year in 2024. A Flare on the Lens, live in London. Fantastic. Has a Blu-ray and a couple CDs to it. And just as a fantastic document of their recent touring with Alberto Bravin. Love it. Think this is like premiere stuff. They're incredible live. I saw them live on Cruise to the Edge, so thought this would be a great memento of the times I've seen them. I picked up Leprous, their album Melodies of Atonement on CD. Had mixed feelings on this. I'm not a huge Leprous fan. I kind of like some of their more recent records, even more so than like their earlier period, which is controversial because a lot of people like more of those early records when they were a bit heavier and had a bit more aggression to them. But, you know, I really like it. I think this is a cool little record and thought it was worth adding to the collection on CD here. Have the most recent Jordan Rudess solo album, Permission to Fly. I thought this was a really strong release. Showcased a cool side to him. Added Joe Payne on vocals, who was an incredible vocalist. And I just thought it was cool. Really embracing the proggy style. Had a lot of interesting playing and dynamics on it. I really liked this album. This is King Crow and their album Hopium. Kind of similar to Leprous, but doing it a little bit more fun, more experimental, like had a cool, bouncier, lighter feel to it, but still has that kind of prog metal heaviness as well. So, fabulous record this year. This is a more experimental type thing. This is Papangu and the album Lampio Rei. This is, I believe, a Brazilian group and doing some fantastic like Zool-inspired stuff, but also like jazzy kind of things as well. Has a bit of like a Gentle Giant aesthetic, especially the second half of the record. There's a little bit of kind of harsher growling vocals, but it's not too overwhelming and they balance it well. And it's really absent from the second half of the record, which has a lot of more instrumental, cool, jazzy arrangements. So really interesting record that I think more people should check out. I also have the Versa album here, A Voyage of Destination, and what's cool about this is it has both parts to it. It has the first record, which came out basically a couple years ago, and then it has 2024's A Voyage of Destination Part 2, sent from the band themselves. Really excited to receive this. Perfect to have this on CD. Great post-rock with some prog influences, very ethereal and calming and beautiful music with some really interesting different things in the mix. So some great guest stars and guest vocalists and all of those types of things. So fabulous. I love the cover. I love the band. So great to feature that. Kite Parade, their album Disparity. This is only on CD, so I had to pick it up on CD, but I love this group. This is like a concept record. A little bit more in kind of a poppier prog vein, kind of like an It Bites or something like that. Think of John Mitchell, kind of Lonely Robot stuff as well. But there is some cool progginess on here as well and some cool instrumental sections. So definitely worth checking out. If it's slipped by you, this is definitely a cool one to pick up and purchase. And then, of course, I have to end out with some more Neil Morse stuff. I picked up this on CD as well. I had it on vinyl. I decided to get it on multiple formats because I'm an obsessive fan of Neil Morse, and I collect all of his stuff in multiple formats. So just wanted to showcase that. And then along with it, got this package for his Morse Fest 2023, featuring the Neil Morse Band performing Testimony and Testimony 2. Fantastic performance from them, and great to have a documented version of it. This has, different CDs and Blu-rays on it to document the whole performance. So fabulous presentation and a great addition to my Neil Morse collection. So that's basically what I have in this episode. Hopefully you appreciated some of these items. Let me know in the comments if anything stood out to you here. Anything that you've picked up over the last several months. Like I said, I'm trying to scale back a little bit, so I'm not quite sure when I'll build up enough to do another episode here, maybe mid-year sometime, I would imagine. But yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of great stuff. Really excited to dive into these releases and listen to them, and hopefully you guys are excited about whatever you have. So thank you guys so much, and thanks for joining the channel, and hopefully I'll catch you in a future episode. Bye everybody, enjoy the music.